What makes the World Series of Poker so special? A few years ago, I was here, playing a tournament with a renowned German pro, and after he busted, I'll never forget the words he spoke to me. He put his hand on my shoulder and said, "Another dream dies." And that's exactly what it is, what the World Series of Poker is. Thousands of people's dreams culminated in one place, everyone seeking glory. The question is, will I be the one to achieve it? All right, let's get into it. We all started with 25,000 chips and the same goal: survive as long as you can. In this hand, I have Queen 10 of hearts in the small blind. The cutoff raises to 700, and then something interesting happens. The button tries to call, but accidentally grabs a 5K chip instead of a 500 chip, essentially raising it to 5.2K. He freaks out, and the dealer does let him take it back, so it's just a call. Action's on me, and in poker, you have to use all the information you can get. Clearly, this guy freaking out about raising does not have a strong hand. Also, if the original raiser had a really strong hand, he'd probably try to argue to keep in the 5.2K raise. So I'm gonna play on all that information. I use aggression, re-raise it to 3.5K, and my opponent's fold. Good start. Next up, I have ace-6 of hearts under the gun. I raise to 700, and both the low jack and button call. 3 ways to a flop of 9-4 deuce 2 hearts. I have the nut flush draw, but I decide to start off with a check. The low jack bets 1700, and then the button action player raises to 4K. Oh, okay. Wow, this is already turning out to be a big pot. I'm drawing to the nuts though. I make the call, low jack calls as well. We're looking for that heart. Jack of spades. Okay, I check, low jack checks, button checks. One more chance for a heart. Here we go. Queen of clubs. Now, the interesting thing is that the button checked the turn. I definitely think he would have kept betting with 2 pairs sets, so I feel like he just has a 9 or something. I have nothing, but I don't think my opponents are that strong either. I bet 10,000 chips. My heart is beating. Low jack folds. Button folds. We take it down. Let's go. So I'm up to 36.1K. It's level 4 of the tournament now, and I pick up ace queen under the gun. 200, 400 blinds, I open to 900, and only the button calls. The flop is a good one. Ace jack 6. I have top pair. However, I'm out of position, so the standard move a lot of times is just to check. My opponent bets 1K. I make the call. The turn is another 6, lowers the chances of him having pocket 6s. I check it over once more. This time he bets 2K. I make the call again, and the river is a deuce. I think given the action, my opponent likely has an ace. And to be honest, an ace might check back. However, I do think an ace will call a good-sized bet, especially because the board is paired and the jack essentially acts as the kicker for any weak ace. I bet pretty big, 6.5K chips. My opponent makes the call, I show my cards, and he has ace 7, and I take down a good-sized pot. Level 5 now, I have 6-8 of spades in the big blind, the low jack cutoff, and small blind limp. As the big blind, I can see a free flop, so I just check, and the flop comes 3-5-7 2 hearts. I have an open-ended straight draw, I check, and the low jack bets 1K. Cutoff calls, I could call, but I'm going to take the more aggressive line. As the big blind, I could have all the 2 pairs here. I raise to 4K, to which the low jack snap calls, and the cutoff folds. If the low jack had a really strong hand here, like 2 pair or a set, I would think he would take a little more time to debate re-raising me, so I weight him pretty heavily toward a draw. The turn is a queen, and I continue betting for 6K, and again, the low jack snap calls. The river is a 7. The flush draw bricked. My hand also bricked though, and I'm sitting here with 8 high. The only way I can win is if I bet. But against a missed flush draw, I don't think I need to bet big for him to fold. I bet a measly 6K. If I'm wrong, it was a cheap bluff, but I'm right on the money. He folds, and I continue building my chip stack. So someone on the table asked me what my favorite hand was, and I cheekily replied, pocket ones. Pocket ones meaning pocket aces. I said, all I need is a 2, because 1 + 1 = 2. Anyway, it was quite interesting timing. Show me a 2.
Pocket ones.
Pocket ones.
Give him 2 2s.
I think this is it. I think this is it.
Oh, he's scaring everybody out. Look at that.
So I indeed have pocket aces. After saying I had pocket aces. After the hijack limps, I decide to raise it up to 2,000 chips, and only the hijack limper calls. The flop comes out queen 7, 9, 2 clubs. My opponent checks, and I put out a c-bet of 1.6k. Then he raises to 5k, and already this does not feel good. This is a tighter opponent, not someone who's going to be super happy raising his draws all the time. I do have aces though, so I make the call, and we're off to a turn which comes a 3. Does not change anything, and my opponent bets 20k. Absolute monster of a bet. This guy, overbetting, it's never a bluff. It's never a bluff, and so I know what I have to do.
Dude, my man, I have the pocket ones.
Oh my god. Oh my god. You called it too.
Luckily, that player found me after the tournament and told me he couldn't believe I folded and told me he had pocket queens. So definitely a good fold, and I'm happy I made it. Going from pocket aces to queen 6 of clubs in the small blind. Under the gun +1 limps. Really good price for me to complete the blind. I call big blind checks, and we're 3 ways to a flop of queen 6, 7. Okay. Wow, I flop 2 pair. I could lead in a limp pot, but I decide to just check. Big blind checks too, but the under the gun +1 player bets 1,200 chips, and it's on. I didn't check to just call a bet. It's war. I raise to 4,000 chips. He makes the call. The turn is an ace. I'm not slowing down. I bet 6,000, and he calls again. The river is another ace. Holy cow, that's bad. Okay, now I'm beat by any ace, pretty much any queen. I only beat missed draws. I'm hoping. Please. I check. He checks back. I show my cards, and they're good! Yes! The next few levels, nothing significant happens. I slowly chip up, and then in level 9, I pick up king queen under the gun +1. Blinds are now 600, 1,200. I opened at 2.5k. Action folds all the way to the big blind, who goes all in for 20k. He's a tight player, but he just lost a pretty big pot. It could be frustration tilt. But king queen is still not the best hand to call with, so I let it go. But the very next hand, I pick up ace queen. This time under the gun. I open again. Same thing, 2.5k. Folds to the same player. He's in the small blind now. He shoves. Now he has 25k. Ace queen versus a 20 big blind shove. I have to call. My heart sinks when I see he has ace king. I'm dominated. But I close my eyes and remember the most important thing. I'm the main character of this story. Queen in the window! Another queen! Come on, let's go! We chip up in a big way. Come on! Then I'm all in again with pocket jacks versus king 9 suited. It's not even a sweat. I know I'm gonna win, and sure enough, I do stack another opponent. Then win a hand with pocket 9s. 3-bet light with king 9 suited and get it through. Guys, this is smooth sailing. Except every journey has the chance of encountering rough waters. And the name of mine is Eric Baldwin and Sean D. Alright, so what's the situation? Well, they broke my table, which I felt I had a very solid edge on. And where did they place me? Right next to 2 super pros, both with huge stacks. Great. Here we go. I have pocket 9s on the big blind. Cutoff opens to 6k. The button calls and actions on me. The button should be 3-betting his strong hands, so he should be pretty capped. I debate just calling, but I'm gonna put in aggression, attempt to just take down the dead money. I 3-bet to 20k. The cutoff thinks about it, but then shoves for 100k, and it folds back to me. This is miserable. I'm thinking, why didn't I just flat? And I let it go. The very next hand, I see ace king suited in the small blind. Wow, okay, the low jack opens to 5k, hijack calls, actions on me, and once again, I 3-bet to 20k. And then the big blind goes all in for 107.5k. The other 2 players fold, and this time I'm going with it. I call. He has ace-king suited as well, pretty anticlimactic, and we end up chopping the pot. A few hands later, I pick up 5-6 of clubs in the cutoff. It is now level 13. Blinds are 1.5, 3K, action folds to me, and I go for the standard 2x open to 6,000 chips. Only the big blind calls, but this ain't no ordinary player. This is Eric Baldwin. Heads up to a flop with a tournament crusher. The flop comes king 4-8, all diamonds. I have no diamonds. I do have a gut shot giving me a sliver of hope, and put out a small c-bet of 4.5K, trying to fold out any air he might have, but he makes the call. The turn is a jack. Honestly, this is a pretty decent card for me. If I make another bet, a 4 or an 8 would have a very difficult time hanging on, so that's exactly what I do. I bet 11K, but unfortunately, he calls once again. The river is the 7 of diamonds. I hit my straight, however, any diamond makes a flush now. He checks over to me. I am beating all hands without a diamond, but I think it's too thin to go for value, and I don't want to turn my hand into a bluff. I check back. He shows 10-3 of diamonds. He flopped the freaking flush on me, and I lose. I guess life is just easy if you're a super pro. Speaking of easy, look who just picked up a monster. Pocket queens in the big blind. Under the gun +1 opens to 6K. It is none other than super mega pro Sean D. Now, a little thing you should know about Sean. In the 20 hands I've been on this table for, Sean has probably won about 40% of those hands. He's a dominant force here, and he's been playing a very wide range of hands. I have an easy 3-bet spot, normally would make it between 20 to 24K. However, I have a monster hand, and I don't want Sean to fold. I make a tiny 3-bet to 16K, and Sean calls. Off to a flop of Jack 6-8 rainbow. Very nice flop for pocket queens. I make a small c-bet of 10K, and Sean calls. The turn is a 5. Now here is the plan. Sean's very aggressive, especially if he senses weakness. I could see him floating with a variety of hands on this flop, ready to strike if I slow down. I want him to think I have ace-king, ace-queen. I want him to feel like he can take this pot away from me. I check, and he falls for it. He bets 26,000 chips. Now, my original plan was to just call and let him keep barreling on the river, but as I'm looking at this pot, I just want to take it down now, or at least charge him for seeing another card. I'm all in for 79K, and he snaps, and my heart sinks because I know exactly what that means. He has pocket 5s, turned the set on me, and just like that, another dream dies. But it's not over. I still am playing 3 more tournaments at the World Series of Poker. I don't know how it's gonna go. What I do know is that I'll keep trying my best and keep dreaming for the top. Thanks for watching.